What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the latest episode of Screen Speak, the podcast that's all about movies, life, and so much more. As always, it's Jordan Anderson. It's me, the guy talking into the microphone, the one that runs this whole ship. Yep, that's me, Jordan Anderson. That's who you're hearing right now. So, first off, thank you so very much for coming by and listening to this particular episode of Screen Speak. And if you've been here before, well, nice seeing you again, or nice imagining you here again, because I can't really see you, but I'm picturing you here listening to the sound of my voice, listening to me talking about, in this episode, Bopper and Me with the Johns. I'm picturing it all, and I think you're liking what you're hearing, so I'm just going to continue on as if that's what's really happening. So thanks for that very, very much. If you're new to Screen Speak, well, thanks for coming by as well. You're just as important as the existing listeners. I don't put it in any sort of category. It's not like there's a long-time listener award that I have here just yet, or any sort of a perk that I give to the people that have been here since the beginning. Though you could argue that perhaps that is something that I should do, because I'm sure there's a lot of podcasts that do something like that. Some of them kind of package it into Patreons and things like that. Don't think I'm there quite yet, but maybe not as far away from that as you might think. So, am I dropping a hint there? Who knows? We'll just leave that up to your imagination. So, let's just pause for a moment here. Let's just talk about what's going on in my life, because why not? I'm the one that's doing all the talking here. I'm doing the work, so you can hear me expound upon my life for a little bit before we get into the episode. Let's see. Newest things with myself, purchased a new vehicle. Yeah, a new car. Has not happened since 2015, and you could also argue that it's never actually happened at all, because the one that I had in 2015, it was not in fact a new vehicle, it was a used vehicle. So this is in fact the first actual brand new factory floor vehicle, whatever you want to call it. I don't know exactly how, really new it is, because, technically they got to get it onto a loader and, get it over to the dealership and everything. So someone's touched it to get it to go there. So it's not like I'm truly the first, but in any case, you get it. I got a new car. So that's been exciting for sure. A little bit daunting, honestly, kind of scary in some aspects too, because, I'm not a millionaire. So of course there's a loan and, some financing attached to it, but it's not crazy. It's not crazy. I think my wife and I made the correct decision in the matter. Not that you need to hear all about my auto stories and everything like that, but whatever. It is a thing that happened. New car. Got a lot of content that is in active progress right now that I am just really trying to get through and work on as soon as I'm humanly able to do so. But this is a good problem to have for Screen Speak, so that is good. Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about that. It's good. Let's see. I have content still pending from the Iowa Independent Film Festival. This one that I'm dropping right now is the third conversation from my series that I recorded there that I've since titled Voices from Iowa Independent Film Fest. Isn't exactly original, but it does get the point across. So that's what this episode is. But I still have more coming from that festival, so definitely stay tuned from that. Another thing that's come from that festival is also new guests. Not actually just from that festival, but also from a couple other places too. I'm actually going to be recording, I want to say one or two podcasts. One for sure, second one possible. And then I'm just continuing to kind of go through my backlog and just get content out to you as soon as I'm able to do it. I wish I could just drop an episode every day, but I don't tend to work that quickly, because when I do drop stuff, I want it to be the best it can possibly be and not just give you something that's half-assed. I will not do that. So that's what's happening with that. And another thing, probably the last thing I'll say as far as updates go, and then I'll go ahead and just get into the actual content itself, is to drop a little bit of a tease for episode 100 of Screen Speak. I put the call out there, either in the last episode or the one before that, I can't quite remember, that I'm looking to do something special for episode 100. Still looking for some ideas on that, so if you are willing to and have some time, do go ahead and drop a comment on the comments, either in the podcast service that you're listening to, Spotify, Apple, and all those things. They tend to allow comments now. I know most of my episodes do, so you can always try it there. You can always likewise do that on social media, or send a direct message to the Instagram or the Facebook, or you can do it through the email for the podcast. All of those things that I just said are in the description of this and most any episode, so just take a look at that if you're interested in doing that. But I'm looking for ideas. Still looking for ideas. I have a few that I think I'm settled on, and I'm just kind of convinced that I'm going to be doing it. But, there's a lot of time that can happen between now and when I do the actual episode 100 special. So definitely let me know what you're thinking on that, because I really want that episode to really be something that's, tailor-made quite literally for you, the people that make this podcast possible. So definitely let me know. Okay, on to the actual introduction for this episode. Who do I have on? What are we doing here? Let's get into this. So I have two guests on this episode of the podcast named John Cumberland and John Young. So first, let me tell you about a little bit of each of them and then why they're really on here. So both the Johns are on here to talk about the documentary that they worked on and made together called Bopper and Me. So the little bio for Bopper and Me is about a scrap metal merchant, which is John Cumberland, not John Young. They go by Big John and Little John sometimes. Apparently, I don't know if that's in the filmmaking community or just when I was at the festival itself, but that's what they go by because one is taller, one is shorter, and the shorter one looks, I guess, a little bit like Elvis Costello. They talk about that a couple of times actually in the documentary, strangely enough, and then they make some light of it in the Q&A portion I saw at the festival. But in any case, I digress. So the story is about a scrap metal merchant being John Cumberland, who travels from England. Both the guys are from England. And they travel to America on a mission to get John Cumberland's hero, the Big Bopper, inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I will put in a trailer, little trailer clip here in a little bit for the documentary just to give you a feel for it. But all the information on the documentary can, again, be found in the description of this episode. So that includes its website, the IMDb for it, I'll put the trailer for it, information about both the Johns, all that good stuff. So definitely, again, check out the description of this episode. But let's see, a little bit more about the Johns. I mentioned they're from England. John Cumberland himself, he's a scrap metal merchant from a place called, I might be butchering this, Shildon? I'm so sorry, John C., if you're listening to this. I didn't ask to get the pronunciation of the place you're from in England, but that's what the web told me about you. So he originally got interested in the Big Bopper when he was, as far as I can understand, looking for an advertisement or looking for some slogans of some cases. And Big Bopper, if you that are listening to this even know who he is, you might know that thing that he puts in some of his songs where he says, "Hello, baby." He does it pretty similar to that. And John C., he heard this and he was like, oh man, like that's the sound, like that's what I really want to use. Let me go ahead and do that. And I think it did well for his business. So that kind of led him down the early road of getting familiar with who the Big Bopper is, also known by his real name, which is J.P. Richardson. And so then from there, he spent a lot of his free time and money exploring the Bopper's legacy, and really has ever since, which I want to say this is around 2016, 2017, give or take. Could have been before that for all I know, but I'm just going by the documentary's timeline. He's been leading the campaign to get the Big Bopper, J.P. Richardson, into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ever since. He also has, I don't know if he co-founded it, but in some part he founded a music studio that he has. I want to say it's back in England. I also could be mistaken on that, but I'm pretty sure it's in England, called Junkyard Dog Studios. And they have a specific focus on that era in particular of music, being that 1950s true rock, some would say. And they specialize on sound recording and mastering music production at said studio. So that's a bit about John C. himself. Let's see, moving on to John Young. John Young is from a different area in England, Sheffield, England. That one's a little bit easier to pronounce. I think that's correct. We'll see. And he was not at all in the film or anything like that. In fact, he went to school for engineering. And for a big chunk of his life, that's exactly what he did, was engineering. But all during that time, he's always held a passion for the arts. And for many, many, many years, he's been really good friends, arguably best friends with John Cumberland. So he kind of got involved, I think, just as like a loyal friend aspect of it for John C. and seeing how much this meant to him to get his musical hero inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So that's kind of how he got involved with the documentary, and he's been helping in a lot of respects to, just keep John C.'s sanity in check, I would say. And then also just to be some moral support and really, help him keep his fire lit for getting this quest of his complete, which again, is still in the works right now, but a little more on that later. John Young himself, he is an artist himself. He does a lot of custom artwork, it looks like. He designs things, custom work for like guitars. He's done some canvases, done a lot of really interesting things. Even has like his own artworks gallery that you can look up here in, guess what, the description of this episode. So definitely check that out. But both of them are very, very nice. They are very nice people for sure. And it really was a treat having them on the podcast, especially since they came all the way from England to be at the Iowa Independent Film Festival.
Hello, baby. Do I what? Will I what? Oh, baby, you know what I like. There's a scrap metal merchant who's obsessed with the Big Bopper and wants to get him inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We had a great time meeting John at Sugar Hill, where Bopper, he recorded Chantilly Lace. He's a nut, he's a lovable nut.
Hello, baby. Oh, you sweet thing.
John wrote the lyrics to the song Bopper and Me, and I put some music to it and tip our hat to the Bopper.
Cause I'm heaven sent, but hell bent to relight the Big Bopper's flame. Will I what? Will I
any band that was anybody traveling through the Midwest of the United States came through and played the surf. It was high on the list of places that people wanted to play.
So many people came up and they told me, I was here. I saw Buddy, I saw Richie, I saw the Big Bopper, I was here. And there's this look in their eye when they tell you that, and it's magic.
Let me talk a little bit more about who this Bopper guy is. Like who is that? Because I'll be honest, I had no idea who the Big Bopper was before this documentary. Really didn't know. Once I started to get familiar with him and kind of understanding the connection that he had towards the end of his life with Buddy Holly and was it Richie Valens? I think I'm saying that right. Then it kind of started to, become more clear to me because the place I was at, I don't know why I was about to say, oh, pun intended, but, the place I was at, it's Clear Lake, Iowa, clear to me. It's clearly an overthought joke that we're going to skip past right now. But let's see. Where was I at? I kind of started the ramble a little bit there. So let me talk about this Bopper guy. Who is he? What's going on with him? So the guy's real name is J.P. Richardson, known as the Big Bopper. I can't remember exactly why they call him the Big Bopper, if the documentary talked about that or if that was just something that his friends called him. I will clearly have to watch the documentary again or look up just look up his Wikipedia page, frankly, and get the information. I'm not going to do it right now because I want to get this introduction done so I can get into the conversation and have you all get into it as well and enjoy it. But for now, what I'll say was most known about the Big Bopper is the fact that he was on the plane that Buddy Holly and Richie Valens was on when they died in the late 50s, early 60s, somewhere in that time frame. I could be completely butchering it, but again, I don't have the facts in front of me right now. I'm just kind of going with what I remember on the documentary itself. So yeah, definitely historically significant event, not just for music, but of course for the state of Iowa and where I was at. Clear Lake is the actual place that the incident happened, which incidentally I found to be pretty cool that they were playing the movie there. I don't think it's the first time that they've shown it, but it may have been the first time that they showed it in that specific location, which historically significant wise and kind of tying that all together, I thought that was actually a really cool choice on their part to go ahead and do so, and I'm glad they found a venue to be able to do it there at the Clear Lake Theater there in Clear Lake, Iowa. Thoughts on the premiere itself when I was there, I can definitely say it was one of the more packed shows that I saw at the theater. There was a lot of silver in the crowd, if you get what I mean. A lot of older folk, and I'm not trying to say like anything negative with that. It's just an observation when I was there, and it's not really surprising given how long ago the stuff with the Bopper happened, being 64 years, something like that, give or take. And so it's like I get why a lot of the crowd there would be older, but that didn't make, to me at least, the viewing be really any different. It was just of an older subject matter. But I thought it was interesting for sure. I didn't really, tell you the truth, know a lot about that plane crash to begin with. Didn't really understand the talents of Buddy Holly and Rizzy Valens, but mostly the Bopper. I really didn't know much about the guy. And in the documentary, they do a pretty good job of just laying out who he is, why the Johns, particularly John Cumberland, feels he's so deserving of being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, like, they state the case pretty well as to why they think he should be there. And whether or not you agree with him or not, it's kind of beside the point. I think the passion from the Johns is what came through in the documentary. And I think it's what comes through when I talked with them at the after party, the first after party at the Iowa Independent Film Festival. So I really think a lot of their passion came through. They were great with the audience that I saw with them. They would be, answering questions. They were even selling some posters, I think. I'm trying to think, it wasn't very much. It was like maybe $5 a poster, and it had like the main John signature on it, as makes sense because the documentary is all about him. And yeah, I mean, like it was really pretty cool. They had a lot of people that were signing, adding to a petition. I don't think it was a fresh petition, but they've been gathering signatures for a while to try to send those to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to show that there's an outcry, a voice, if you will, of people that are wanting this person to have their place be cemented into music legend or history all through the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So they were getting signatures for that. I believe I signed it as well. So Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, if you're listening to this, you can see my scribble on there somewhere saying Jordan Anderson. So I'm there. Really enjoyed the conversation with them. I mean, they're really fascinating people just in their own right. Outside of the film and whatnot, I just think they're interesting people. They kind of have that vibe of the people that know each other a little too well, but they can just get under your skin that much easier because they know, as Robin Williams says, I think, in the movie Good Will Hunting, all the little peccadillos. Just a fun word to say, peccadillos. Not sure if that actually has a meaning or not, or if that's just something that the late, great improv master himself came up with. Hard to say. But I really enjoyed the conversation. They're both English, so, I mean, I don't get to talk to people from across the pond that often. So when I do, I mean, just accent-wise, it sounds silly. I mean, I don't know if I'm supposed to appreciate someone more because they have an accent, but I don't know. I mean, I talk with a lot of American people, so if I can talk with someone that's not from America, I actually really enjoy it because their life it's already more interesting just because their setting is so different from mine. So there's a lot that I can learn from them just by talking with them, and I think I did. But I got to go back again to the passion that these two guys have. They clearly have passion for the music, and I think they have passion for music history as well. Which that's always an interesting thing when you think of history. I think some people can think of that from just like a political standpoint, a patriotic standpoint. If you're American, you're thinking of American history. But music history is certainly an interesting topic that a person can choose to spend quite a bit of time in, and certainly not even be able to learn everything that's out there because it's a very dense subject if you get into music history. But very interesting hearing them talk about that. But I think the thing, if I had to, just really simplify this and say the thing that I appreciated the most from talking with them is that I felt the love that they both had for this guy, the Big Bopper, who, again, up until that time, I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know why he's important. And that's sort of the thing I walked away with is like, even if it's not somebody that I myself am, overly familiar with and, very passionate about, I can certainly see the point that they're making about why they think a person should be deserving of getting the recognition on the level of being inducted into a Hall of Fame. And I think that raised about a lot of questions and thoughts in my own self of like, just what makes something, what has to check all the boxes off to get put into that category? And is it always right if something is put in there or isn't it? I mean, because music, like anything else, is extremely subjective, I would imagine. And the people that are judging the criteria of that, I imagine they have their own pretty critical things that they look at something through to deem whether it goes in there or not. But from the fan level, it's like, I don't even know if that matters, like, all the way, to be honest. I mean, even like the journey that the Johns go on, whether or not they ever get him inducted into the Hall of Fame, I feel like at this point, it's almost kind of irrelevant. I mean, it would, of course, be phenomenal for them. I mean, like, it would be the guy's dreams come true. I mean, I would love to see it happen just for them, because I'm sure they would light up like a Christmas tree if it did. But on the other hand, it's like going on this quest, going on this journey. I feel like that's kind of the destination of this thing. You know, they've connected with so many people, so many fans of the Bopper. Clearly have left an indelible mark in the Clear Lake, Iowa area, and I think a lot of the people there responded to it. It sounds like the Johns actually go back there during the winter dance party that they do up at the Surf Ballroom there. I want to say that's in February, and I think actually, yeah, I think they're actually doing it again this upcoming February, because I know the gentleman talked to me about that on the podcast, so you'll have to listen for that. And I'll put the description again for that in the description for this episode. It's like the 8th time I said that. But I don't know. I feel like they've touched a lot of people already with the documentary. And if nothing else, even if, you know, on paper, he's never inducted into the Hall of Fame, which I never say never, it could happen. Enough people now have been educated onto who this guy is. And I think they're doing what they can in their own way to help more people appreciate somebody that was taken away far too soon. And there's something to be said about somebody that can die, you know, decades ago, long time ago, very long time ago, and still hold such a special place in a few key people's hearts. And these people are key to this guy's legacy. You know, I mean, the family himself, like they showed in the documentary, is interesting. Like the guy's son got close with these guys. They made the Bopper's son a promise, which the Bopper's son is now sadly passed away. But they made a promise saying that they're going to try to get him into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I don't know. It's just, I mean, maybe I'm biased just because like I talked to them, but just from, you know, sitting down and having a conversation with these guys, I felt for them. And I want them to get it. I mean, they're putting a lot of their own time and money and resource and reputation all into, you know, getting this guy from decades ago that, you know, frankly, a lot of people right now probably don't care about. But these guys care an awful lot. So I really think, if nothing else, if you do get a chance to see their documentary, Bopper and Me, I would check it out. I did try to ask them if it's going to be premiering, you know, like on, I didn't say like streaming services, but I didn't say streaming services in particular, but I did ask like if it's easy for people to find. And right now, it's mostly in local or, you know, Midwest based, I want to say, film festivals. So maybe one day they'll get it to be released online, or maybe if you're lucky enough, you can connect with the guys or see their film at a premiere. But if nothing else, just do this for me, okay? Just humor me, humor the Johns that I have on here, and do this for them, okay? Look up the Big Bopper. Watch the trailer that I have in the description for this episode. Just check that out. See if it interests you. And go down the rabbit hole a little bit. Learn about this guy. Learn about Clear Lake. Learn about the Surf Ballroom. All of it. Maybe you'll find it fascinating. Maybe you won't. But if nothing else, you'll take away from this conversation that real fans, like real fans of an artist, their legacy, an artist's legacy can be felt upon fans, not even in this generation, but generations across, if they're doing, you know, if they're leaving a legacy in their own right. I'm not saying that correctly, but I think you get what I'm saying right now. So all that being said, I certainly have talked enough. It's been a longer introduction on this than I typically do, but there was a lot to unpack here. Okay. So just sit back, enjoy yourself. Enjoy the conversation I have with the Johns, and see if it makes you want to listen to the Big Bopper's music, or just look up the man himself and just see what the Johns are doing. See what they're doing, see if you're interested in it, and let's get this thing started, okay? Here it is. Here's the conversation I have with the Johns on Bopper and Me. John and John, right?
Yep.
Now,
Big John, Little John.
Who's big?
Me. John
Just
Cumberland.
purely because of height?
Well,
I mean, like,
Yeah.
is it?
Yes.
well, if it was the size of my head, it would be him. But no, it's due to height.
Yeah.
And I like your guys' hats, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank
Are
you.
you guys always been hat wearers like that?
Well, really,
See you
this is.
guys in.
Oh no, you're good. You're fine.
See you guys in
This
the
isn't
morning.
live.
See you next time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, you know, these the big.
We're
I remember
turning
them
into
at
popsicle.
the
These the big
screen.
Bopper's cousins. Yeah.
Yes.
Good night,
Yes.
darling.
Mwah. Good night.
See you. All right.
Yeah, we'll see you at breakfast
Stay
in the
tight.
morning.
Yeah. Okay.
About
Bye.
8 o'clock.
You guys are going to be at the
Okay.
breakfast?
Mwah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know anything about it. He knows.
I'll
You're
talk.
good.
We're doing breakfast at the hotel for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, the
yeah.
hotel.
breakfast.
There
That's
you
all.
go.
See you then, darling.
Okay, darling.
Good night, Pat.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks very much,
You're
Barbara.
good.
Thank you.
Sorry,
about
John.
that.
No, you're
with the
fine.
hats.
Yeah, the hats.
To be honest,
Yeah.
this hat I'm wearing, I bought this in Nashville.
This was whilst we were
went
filming.
when we were filming.
Okay.
You know, in the movie, you heard John in the car saying, "Can you come out to see me?" And I said, "Well, I'll fly out and I'll fly to Nashville."
Yeah.
So I flew to Nashville, and I was actually there a day
You talk with
early.
an American accent there, mate. Just
I'm
talk
not.
normal. You do in Nashville.
Oh, do
Just
you
talk
have an
normal.
American accent
No.
impression?
he
Oh, I'd
doesn't.
love to hear
No,
it.
he puts it on.
Oh, you do?
So I flew
Yeah.
to Nashville.
Yeah. No, don't do that. Just talk your
Yeah,
shit.
you don't have to do it, I promise.
No, don't talk like that.
I
I flew to Nashville.
No, that's wrong. I flew to Nashville and I'd got a day spare, so I decided just to have a walk round, went down Broadway, and there was a Gurin hat shop. And I do like hats and I wear them home, so I thought, oh, I'll go in and have a look for a hat.
Yeah.
Went inside, staff were great, got chatting, told them why I was there. I was meeting my friend who was making a movie about the Bopper, and I started trying hats on. And eventually I found this hat.
You found one that fit.
Yeah.
Well, it fits well, though,
Yeah,
because
but-
I say that because not everybody, I think, can pull a hat
I know
well.
that.
Yeah,
Some
but
people
the
have
guy
heads
said
like it
that-
doesn't work for
John,
it.
No, but the guy said to him, Jordan, he said, look, this is the last chance. If this one doesn't fit, you're going to have to the box it came in.
So I'm trying them on, and eventually I put this hat on, and there was a guy stood at the back of the shop. He said, "That looks great," and I said, "All right, thank you." So I thought it looked okay myself, so I bought it. Anyhow, I just turned around, chatted to this guy, and he said, I said, "Oh, are you local?" He said, "Yes, I live here. In fact, I've got this book if you want me to sign it and buy a copy or whatever." So I said, "Well, could you sign it to John Cumberland, my friend who was here for the movie?" So he signed it, and his signature was Chris Christopherson. No, seriously. And I'm thinking, oh my God. When I got outside, I didn't realise it because I was just sort of a bit, all right, thanks. And I thought, that's Chris Christopherson. He's just said he liked my hat and he signed the book. I didn't go back in, I just walked off.
Right.
So that's the
Didn't
story
like-
of this hat. So this
fantastic.
has stayed with me throughout the movie. So I've
love
worn
that.
it, and that's why I've got it on now, because I just think it's my lucky mascot for our movie. And
I don't know where the book is, though.
well, you lost it. No, you did. You lost it.
Did I?
We left it somewhere.
Oh, I was thinking.
But anyhow, that was the backstory to the hat that I've got on now.
No, I love it. See, that's why I ask, because you never know. There could be a great story
No,
with a piece
I
of
know.
clothing. It's intentional.
Well, I
I
always
get
wear
it.
fedoras normally.
Yeah, John,
Yeah.
he's only got that because it's summertime, and he'd normally bring one
And
of
I
his
always, because the big
silly
bopper,
hats.
obviously,
So I gotta ask. I mean, I have a lot of questions about this movie, Bopper and Me.
Yeah.
Right now, be honest. Okay, Bopper is before my time. Okay.
Never.
Right. Imagine that.
Yeah.
I'm 32 years old.
Wow.
I know who Buddy Holly is. I do, just from my mom, and my dad, and stuff like that. But I admit, Big Hopper, I didn't really know.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like when I heard you did the hey baby, I can't do it as well as you did.
Hello, baby.
There you go. I like that. When I heard that, I'm like, okay, I know I've heard this.
Yes.
In different songs that I didn't realize was from him.
Yes.
Now, I guess kind of the first question I have, and people ask you this, kind of why you became, interested in the music. I'm not going to ask you that. I'm actually just more interested why you felt compelled to go on this journey, literally come here to America to start this journey to try to get him in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Not why you're a fan, but just why you felt compelled to do this yourself.
Yeah. Well, I had a scrap metal business, and we used to advertise. And I used to write advertisements, and I used to get a guy on the TV in England, and he used to voice over them for me.
Right.
and he did one or two, which were okay. And then he just one this day, I asked him to do something. He said, "Well, I don't talk like that, you know." And I said, "Well, I'm paying you £3,000 to talk like that." And I thought, I'm not going to do any more.
Right.
And then I used to think I could sing. But as you know, you've seen the movie, my wife thinks I can't sing.
I don't think she knows what she's talking about.
Thank
I think
you very much. Cheers. That'll do me. Yeah. I'll give you $100 later on. Just hang on. And so anyway, I said, look, and I want a catchy tune.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to stuff, and it was the 50s. It's got to be the 50s. You know, it's got to be rock and roll. It's got to be.
Yeah.
And then I'm just thinking, and then all of a sudden the telephone ring. Hello, baby. And I thought, that's what I want. That's the one I want.
Right.
And so I got the actual tune, I got the lyrics, and I changed them. I changed the lyrics of the song. And then a guy who worked for me rang the radio, Star Radio it was at the time, the North East Radio, and he said, the boss wants to do his own advert, but he wants to sing it. And the guy said, well, you know, I'm not sure about that. And as soon as he came through the office, and he said, and I just did the big hello baby thing. Oh, he said, I love that. And then he heard it. He says, we'll give it a go. So we went to a recording studio, recorded it, and it was the most listened to thing on the radio for 3 months.
Really?
It really, really was. And so after he said, you've got to do another one. I said, okay. So again, 60s music. So I'm listening to Chuck Berry, I'm listening to this, and then the next one was... On the banks of the river stood running bear. That's the one I want. So it was whilst I'm changing the lyrics to that one, to the guy diving in to get a scrap car out the river instead of saving this Indian maid. So I thought, right. And I did this other one, and that J.P. Richardson. I thought, hang on, he wrote Chantilly Lace.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's amazing. And then I found out he wrote White Lightning. I thought that's even more amazing. And then I found out he wrote Beggar to a King. And I thought, wow, you know, these are hit songs. And that got me intrigued about it. Then I started to read about the Winter Dance Party.
Yeah.
And then I realised that the Sun was doing the Winter Dance Party. And I don't know what hit me then. And then I thought, I don't know what it was. And I just wanted to do something about this guy. And then I found out, that Jay's son was reenacting the Winter Dance Party.
Yeah.
John Mueller was taking the part of Buddy. I forget the chap.
I don't know. I can't remember.
And they had somebody else taking the part of Richie. And but JP's son was actually taking the part of the Big Bopper.
Okay.
And so I thought, wow. And obviously, I'm in my own little world these times, you know, and I'm thinking, I'll email him. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, though. I thought, will I write a book about this guy or something? Because I didn't realise.
Yeah, you don't immediately jump into, I'm going to make a documentary and go down that road.
At all.
Yeah. Right.
I wanted to know more about him. So, anyway, this day I came home and got a phone call, and it was Jay from, he was on tour doing the Winter Dance Party. It was a beautiful day, and I'm just talking to him. About 40 minutes I'm talking to him. You know, like we'd known for each other forever.
Right.
And so I'm just discussing, and we're talking about different stuff, and he's talking about his father, this, his father, that. And he said, but you know, John, he said, my life's ambition is to get my father inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I, like everybody else, said, surely he's already in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Right.
No, he's not. And that is the start of the story.
Sure.
And so he was the instigator, really. Come over here, John, we'll talk, and we'll get the family involved, and we'll do this, we'll do that. And I just thought, wow, great. And then I wrote this song, the lyrics, sent them to him, and then I got an email back from his daughter, Ashlyn, saying my father would have loved these, but I'm sorry he passed away. So Jay passed away. You know, so now it's I was just like, I had all these plans, and I thought, what can I do? And then I thought, and that was it. I thought, well, it's finished.
Right.
And I don't know what it was did it for me. I think it was something on the table. And I just said, I'm going to do this in his memory.
It's just, you know, like, I mean, there's a lot of thoughts that go through my head when I hear that. I mean, I'm somebody that movies speak to me greatly,
Yeah.
and art and music does in general. I mean, I have bands that I don't know if I could ever say I'm as big of a fan as you are on that, where I would go to the lengths that you've gone, but I don't know. I think it just speaks to a person's legacy and how somebody from such a long time ago is still able to have this ripple effect even today. Because like when we were like in the screening together, I noticed, I mean, frankly, a lot of the audience was a little bit older, which is to be expected because they understand that time period and stuff, but still 64 plus years, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it had such an effect on you that you took it upon yourself to do that. I mean, that has to say a lot just about the man or his music. I mean, that's powerful.
And you know something? If I'm sat here now, to be quite honestly, I don't know how I'm here today. I didn't intend to do what we've done.
Right.
I just thought I'll get a guy with a mobile phone or something. I thought it was easy.
Yeah.
I thought I'll just get a guy and I'll maybe just get him the followers and I'll do this and I'll do that. I didn't realise what it entailed. And you've seen the movie.
Yep.
You've seen how my family react to it.
Yep.
And they're not play acting. That is true.
Yeah.
My wife thinks I'm an idiot.
Where is she right now?
Back in England, at home, waiting for me to go back, and then she's going to fly to Dubai to see our daughter. My daughter thinks I'm a lunatic.
Oh, God.
My daughter wouldn't even let her husband see the movie.
She just had the one daughter? Just the one?
One daughter.
Okay.
She's gorgeous.
Right.
She lives in Dubai.
Okay.
She has the life of a queen. She has a lovely husband.
I mean, God bless that, yeah.
And she wouldn't show her husband, so I let him see it at Christmas when she was gone to bed, and he loved it. And I think, to be fair, I think John will back me up. We have a bit of banter, and
I do like your guys' banter. It's fun.
yes, but I think deep down they're really proud of us.
Yeah.
They absolutely are, John. I just want to interject here because John, obviously he has problems at home with the movie. I mean, I don't mean other things, and it's difficult for him to talk to Kath because the reaction sometimes is not what he wants. But she is proud because I've spoken to her personally and privately, and she is proud of what he's doing. Of course, it can get on anyone's nerves, I suppose, where he's constantly talking about it.
Right.
But, there'll be nobody prouder than her if we achieve this goal of getting this guy inducted. I can tell you that.
And I think now that's my main passion. I'd love to prove them wrong, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's my. I think we've got this far. And sorry. And if it wasn't for John and the likes of Amy and people, we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for John, because as I say, I've had a lot of heartache, and
I think it's been difficult for John because he can't talk to anyone about it, and it's only probably me, and that's not because he can't talk about it at home, so he can't say, well, I think I'm going to try this, because it's kind of, well, what are you doing that for? It's a waste of time. So he could, to be honest, he's left some of it to me, not because he doesn't care or anything. He knows that I can get on with it. I can sit in my own little world sometimes, and that's where I contacted Film Freeway, and that's why we sat here now.
Right.
And you know what I mean. And I've tried to keep it going for him because I believe in it for him. I've seen him do it. We've had heartache between ourselves. We've argued about things. That's life, and that's what friends do. Right. You know what I mean? I have to tell him some home truths sometimes that he might not like. But what I'm meaning is, it's all for the greater good of the movie and him. And there'd be nobody prouder than me if we see this movie. If we see the end product being what we want, I'll be over the moon for him.
Well, there's a couple of thoughts that are going through my head right now with this. One, not at all the same level. I'm not going to try to relate to you 100% on this. I'm not going to get there with a particular artist, but I could say for myself, I do understand the lonely road it can be sometimes to care about something tremendously and feel that you're alone in it. Mm-hmm. That's not an easy feeling to live with, especially with a significant other like your wife and whatnot. I mean, that's definitely not easy. at the same time, though, too, if you do really care about something, it doesn't, like, financially, it's not always going to make the most sense. And obviously, like, some people will, they'll reach, they'll say, like, have you lost your mind? Like, what are you doing? Like, how do you get any money out of this?
Yeah.
Like, there's all these questions, I'm sure
you're right. You're absolutely right.
We've had this problem. When we first started, I don't know if it's an English and American mentality, but we contacted Jay's family. Yeah. And as I say, the daughter and everything, when I said, look, I want to do something, it was great. And then, the question came up. I think they thought, I'm doing this for money. Sure. And it was more or less what's in it for us, so to speak. And I said, I'm not doing this for any monetary value whatsoever.
Right.
I have a business. I make money. That was my business. This
you said you were in scrap metal, right?
Scrap metal, yes. Yeah. And I made a good living. And this, it's a passion. And I don't ever think that this sort of thing should ever be taken in monetary terms, Yeah. I would be a complete idiot if I thought I was doing this to make money.
Sure.
And I'd be a complete idiot to think somebody's going to come along and say, look at here, there's a lump of money for your movie.
Right.
I'm not so naive. What I wanted to do is make something that people like, and somebody comes along and says, wow, I think other people are like this, would like to show it. And if it achieves, all I want to do is put another little part in that puzzle to put another step on the ladder to get JP inducted. I don't,
I do want to talk on this briefly, just the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which you guys, of course, touch on it throughout the documentary.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's sort of like the goal, so to speak.
Yeah, it's the holy grail, I suppose, if that's,
right. But I guess what I want to know is somebody, of course I'm familiar with what the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is, but why is that the pinnacle for the Bopper? Like, getting him in there, is it just for the simple, like, notoriety of, like, he's in there and people will socially accept this as, like, he is royalty now?
I promised his son I'd get him in. And I make a promise. I never break a promise.
Right.
And I believe he should be in.
Sure.
There's no other reason. And the family, you've met two of his cousins here today.
Yeah.
They couldn't believe, and they get emotional about it.
Yeah, they were emotional. Yeah.
And they couldn't believe that somebody, when I first met them in Beaumont, they said, why are you doing this?
Sure.
Barbara, unfortunately, her husband died a couple of years ago, but he was here, Jim. And when I first met Jim, he was so sceptical. He said, why are you doing this? And I could see him looking at me, this guy's wanting money or something. And I tried to explain. Unfortunately, Jim came out with Barbara for the first and only time. This is the second time.
Yeah.
But Jim came out. John was there, and he was here for the week. And we went to the winter dance party every day, and we took him out the crash site.
Yeah.
And he went home, and before he went, he spoke with John, and he said he loved it, and he appreciated why we were doing it.
Yeah.
That answered that question.
Yeah.
Now Jim's no longer here. In fact, Barbara came back, because before Jim left, I had a leather jacket made with the Big Bopper on the back, and painting on the back.
Yeah.
And I gave it to Jim as a keepsake on the way home. Now Barbara's come back this time and brought it back for me because Jim passed away, and there's nobody else in the family that fit, and she said, I think you should have it back. So we visit the crash site on Wednesday, I think it was, and I wore the jacket because Jim was there with the jacket last time, and it was just when we come back here, John and I, we're so welcomed. We're here now at this time of year. Yes, the weather's nicer.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah.
The movie is being played, which is fantastic for us.
Yep.
But it doesn't have the same feeling as the winter dance party.
I would only imagine that, obviously, especially after watching the documentary, I understand the significance of that location. And kind of going back to what I was saying about something of a person's memory being carried 60 plus years, obviously still resonates deeply with the place here now.
But we're still talking about him 64 years. What does that say?
I think, Jordan, if I could just interject here.
Yeah, please.
This is, history is we all go on about history, and when I meet people from the US, whether it's in the US or in Europe, they'll say, "Oh, well, in Europe you've got so much history, and they're so old, these buildings, and what must have happened." But you guys invented rock and roll. Let's just start with that one. That's part of your history. Yeah. The fact that it's only 60 years ago is irrelevant. You know what I mean? And I just think that he's part of that history, and he should be recognised along with the other people. I just think that it's important that he is given that honour, if that's the word to use, or inducted.
I think it would be an honour. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I don't know if there's a trophy or something that goes with it. I don't believe there is.
We don't know that either. But
right. But I do think there is something to be said, though, about an institutional recognition of somebody's work.
Absolutely, that's correct.
Yeah.
And there would be nothing better than that guy being inducted and being honoured, if it's for his family and also if it's for John. Because why has this guy from the northeast of England had to come 6,000 miles to tell you guys that you've made an error here and it's an injustice, as it says in the movie?
Right.
This guy has not been inducted. Please tell us why. And going back to the Rock Hall of Fame, I've tried to contact them on numerous occasions and heard nothing. And then I contacted them 6 weeks ago before the...
Yeah. But John,
when we got to know,
you're still getting fobbed off. I'm sorry.
I'm just
sorry.
telling the story.
You email them time and time again, and you get this back. Oh yes, we're trying this. We flew to Chicago. We usually come to Minneapolis.
Right.
We flew to Chicago on the understanding we thought that this guy was going to see us, and then he's too busy.
Right.
No, I'm sorry.
Kept getting blown off.
Yeah. Well, we were going to fly to Chicago, then drive to Cleveland to see this guy.
This guy, by the way, is Greg Harris. I mean, we should name him. I'm not ashamed to mention his name.
And you mentioned that's the CEO, right?
And we were talking to his assistant, and I was talking to his assistant by email, and it was all very encouraging, and then it suddenly went cold. And, we don't... Whether it's because we are Johnny Nobodies, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but you know what I mean, we're not people from that business. We don't have contacts high up, and they just think we're a couple of cranks trying to make something out of this.
It doesn't matter if it's us or it's somebody else. We're trying to put right a monumental wrong.
Yeah.
This guy wasn't Buddy Holly. We're not trying to say he was Buddy Holly.
Sure.
But at that particular time, he was at the top of the tree.
Absolutely,
he was the man at the top of the tree. At that particular time, people came here, like Sherry was saying when she was talking. She came to see the Big Bopper. She didn't know about Buddy Holly or Richie Valens.
Right.
At that particular time, this guy was the big guy. But the thing is, Buddy Holly, yes, was a great songwriter. He was a great singer.
Yeah.
But we're talking about a guy here who invented the music video.
That one was a point I was going to bring up where I did not know that.
Right.
I mean, of course, like a lot of people, I love music.
It's
great.
It's proof. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm not hearsay. You've seen it there in black and white, and that's an English newspaper.
Yeah.
Now I have copies of that disc magazine.
Right.
And I can assure you, Richie Valens, Buddy Holly, and the Big Bopper. The Big Bopper has 2 massive issues. Buddy Holly has a mention in 1 or 2. Richie Valens does. But he was the number 1 guy for us in England at that time.
Right.
And so there's 4 categories, we say. Radio, he was one of the top DJs at the time.
Yeah.
He was noted as the top DJ at the time. Possibly, if it wasn't for him, we may never have heard of Elvis Presley. Because a lot of people wouldn't play Elvis's music, but he would, and he had a massive coverage. And as I say, as a writer, he was a great writer. And he was a great singer. He did everything. He was in every category.
Yeah.
He is in there. So he's at the top of the tree in every category. Not 1, not 2, but every category. And he was an innovator.
How old was he when he died?
28.
27. You want to 28.
Yeah.
That's wild.
But he was the oldest, you see. Richie Valens was 17.
17?
17.
Yeah.
But he was 21. So, I mean, the kids. The pilot was 21.
God,
These were kids.
Yeah, no, I didn't think they were that young.
Oh, yeah.
But
These were kids.
Wow.
So I think And how can the difference be where Buddy Holly was put in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in the first time, with Chuck Berry, Elvis, rightly so. 15 years later, Richie Valens is inducted. So how can 15 years make a difference?
Right.
Why weren't the three inducted at once?
No, but the just John's right what he's saying, but fair enough, Buddy Holly, nobody can deny the fact who he was, so they inducted him early. Richie Valens got inducted really because of the film La Bamba, and that, I believe, not that he didn't deserve it, but
sure.
I believe the connections in the industry were there. And obviously, as time goes on, J.P. Richardson, the Big Bopper, was just forgotten.
Right.
And there was nobody screaming anymore about the injustice that, why is he not in?
Right.
He sort of got left by the wayside until 2015, 2016, John Cumberland came along and said, oh, hold on a minute, what's happening here? Why is this guy not in?
Mm-hmm.
And really that is the truth. It was 2016, around that time, where this guy came along and said, well, why is this?
Why won't they talk to us?
Right.
Are they frightened? They've got a lot of bad but the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame have had a lot of bad publicity.
Well, I have to ask a couple more questions about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not familiar with their selection process and what they do. Is there a formal application that gets filled out, or do they induct people every year? How often do they put people in?
Well, they have a selection committee.
Okay.
That they sit down and somebody will throw various acts into the ring, so to speak, and then a committee will sit down and look at these names and decide on a smaller number. The public get a vote, supposedly, but that only counts for one vote anyhow, so that the public can vote and they get one nominee. And then obviously out of that, they sit down again and decide who's going to be in. So that's the process for acts who are still with us, to be honest. That's live acts. That there are also two other ways of getting in there. The Amat Erchigen Award, and he's the guy who started the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. And that would be for someone, let's say like yourself, Jordan, you've spent 50 years in the business, and they decide that it's a lifetime award to you, because and that's the Amat Erchigen Award. And then there's an award for those who've been forgotten.
Would this fall under that?
Absolutely. Well, this is it. This fits J.P. Richardson exactly. It's an award. They sit down, they think, well, where have we gone wrong here? Who have we missed out that should be in? Now, J.P. Richardson is the prime candidate for that. Mm-hmm. And that's... So it's open for them to sit down. It's a committee meeting, like any committee would. Sure. And say, right, who have we got on the injustice list? Let's put it that way. Right. And there might be a load of names and JP's there. And to be honest, there is no better candidate than JP Richardson on that list.
To be fair, John, what I would like them to do is sit down and watch the movie.
I'm sure that would help.
Yeah.
Great. I would like to see them all, because we're not all educated. Like you say, you didn't know this, you didn't know that. No, I did not. I didn't know this before I set out on the journey.
Sure.
And this is the sort of thing. So it's all right us saying they should be in there, but they don't know. So
you don't know what you don't know.
No. So, I mean, if everybody who's on that nominating committee now sat in a studio or, a movie theatre and saw the movie, at the end of it, then have the discussion.
Isn't that something to say, though, just about the power that movies can have on people? Exactly for a reason like this, because otherwise, where are you going to go to? You're going to have them just listen to a couple of his songs, maybe send over some articles, Jordan, right? It's not the same.
100%.
You're absolutely right. And, this movie is a vital tool in explaining to people why this guy should be in. Yeah. I mean, that's my personal view, having watched it again tonight.
Of course.
And I've seen it on a number of occasions, but I sat watching it tonight with a semi-critical eye and listening to the points. I know we've made the movie, and I know that there can be some bias, but I don't want to be biased. I want to be truthful. And the points that are raised in that movie by John and by other people as well who are in the movie.
Think yourself too.
But seriously, I mean, I went along to help John. He's my friend. I wanted it to be right for him, and I wanted to, and he knows I'll always tell him the truth about things, and he respects that, even though he doesn't like it sometimes. He respects it.
But that's true friendship.
Absolutely. That's what we've said before. But what I'm meaning is, I watched it and I'm thinking, this is a bloody good film. Sorry for
you can swear
like that.
you can swear if you need
you know
to.
what I mean. And this shows that this man should be inducted, and that's all I can really say. You know what I mean? We can talk till we're blue in the face, and sometimes it gets a bit monotonous, even for us. I think I'm saying the same things over again.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
it's hard to keep that flame alive. I get
absolutely.
that.
Jordan, the thing is, that gets me, everybody, and I mean almost everybody, apart from people of your age, but people who are getting on.
Sure.
And I say, look, I'm trying to get him in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They say, well, why? He's already in.
And no.
And he's not.
No, but they're just taking it as, what do you mean he isn't in? The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame have 500 top records, rock and roll records.
I was going to ask, how many are actually in there? I don't even know.
But these records, we're talking about the top. This is the
what
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
They consider the 500
top
rock and roll records
for rock and roll. Number 10, Chantilly Lace. Okay? You go in their shop, they're selling Big Bopper's records.
Yeah.
I bought a record of this. I know they do. I'm not speaking out of turn.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. You listen to some movies, and what do you call it? Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, yeah.
All of a sudden, you start singing Chantilly Lace and A Pretty Face, and we have people like Jerry Lee Lewis had a #1 hit with Chantilly Lace, but the likes of White Lightning, George Jones was the biggest country star compared to Hank Williams, and his first #1 hit was White Lightning.
Right.
You go to his museum, as soon as you go in, there's bottles of White Lightning for sale.
Yeah.
We're talking about things here. People in Nashville didn't realise he wrote that song. And it's just, I'm trying to think of the word now, it's getting late, I'm 65 years old.
He's a forgotten man in lots of ways.
I'm trying to think of the word, John. When you think of this particular man, he's one of those people who, the songs,
right?
You love the songs. George Jones, that's a George Jones song.
But you don't always attribute it to Bob.
No, that's right. Running Bear, that's a Johnny Preston song.
Right.
But they didn't write it, but he did. And the guy, well, we can go on to him blue in the face. All I can say is it's a travesty. And he, in my eyes, and I would just like to see for the family.
Yeah, please.
I would really like to see for the family, more than anything, just to see him put in there, and at the end of the day, when I die and they die, nobody's going to give a shit about this, to be fair.
I think the thing is,
no, they won't.
No,
John, all I'm saying is, if we get him in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, people will walk around and say, yeah, they may listen to one or two of his songs, and think, it's the only time they will is when a song like catches somebody else, a good band records one of his songs.
But you could say this about a lot of different artists. A lot of different mediums and whatnot. Ultimately the work is only as good as the audience response and how the fans really receive it.
Yeah.
Right. That's what makes legacies too, makes work endure and last. Obviously the Boppers have certainly done so. I mean, I've never been to Clear Lake, Iowa before, but I mean, I felt that energy even before the movie was playing. I could feel
great.
it. And to me, it's the highest praise an artist can have is knowing that when they're long gone, not everybody's
been
going to
honoured.
remember them
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, of course.
But they will have left an indelible mark on the people that they
Yeah.
made that music
Absolutely,
for.
yeah.
So maybe, sure, not everybody is going to remember it, but I think enough that it made a difference through will remember it.
Yeah, of course.
And then that inspires other artists
Of course.
to show that their work actually matters in this creative, crazy industry that people are in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I came across it by accident. I came across it, you know.
Happy accident, right?
Well, well, to me, babies.
Yeah.
But it's rather controversial accident. Buying a company, if we had never bought that scrap metal company,
Yeah.
this would never have happened.
Well, there's
Not wild.
there's lots of that, but I think just going back to the fact that this, the story, in the USA, there's a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which we know, which is in Cleveland.
Sure.
And rock and roll, let's say it started in the USA. It's the birthplace of rock and roll. And 3 of the people who were involved in that birth died tragically
Yeah.
in a plane crash along with a young pilot. And 2 of those people have been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that was
That
created.
is very strange when
that
you
was-
guys brought that up in
That was created in the USA for rock and roll stars.
Right.
The 3rd one has just been left out. Why?
Yeah.
And that's the question we want to ask the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Please tell us why this man.
If they ever did give an answer, would it help?
But
I mean,
the thing
for
is,
sure. I mean, of course it would help, but I mean, what kind of answer would you expect?
But
I
Jordan,
guess.
if
We
you
made a
go to-
mistake and we'll do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, basically as simple as that.
That.
but if
Yeah.
you go to the surf ballroom, there's a plaque there,
Yeah.
and it says 3 legends of rock and roll died that day.
Right.
3 legends, not 2.
Yeah.
It says 3 legends.
Right.
So-
And therefore, the highest institution that judges music should also qualify that as 3 legends.
Yeah.
Don McLean said rock and roll has never been the same since that day.
I like that you tied that in there because, of course, I'm familiar with that song, but I didn't realize the direct tie-in with that. So that was an added level of appreciation.
That song
of that.
is about the crash. He heard that
And
day.
I had no idea.
He was a newspaper boy, and he heard about the crash.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is
And
about.
Buddy
Yeah.
Holly, that was his hero.
it's crazy.
But that gets me, and you read that, but you go to the surf ballroom, and it says 3 legends, not rock and roll legends, 3 legends. So how can he be a legend
Right.
and not be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
He's either a legend or he isn't.
You give the man his credit,
Yeah.
basically.
But he was rock and roll. They're about to induct Dolly Parton, Eminem, and they have all these rap artists. That's not rock and roll. They were
No.
rock and roll. It's music. It's great. And possibly they should be inducted.
Right.
But why should they forget the originators of rock and roll?
It's fair.
Yeah, that's the real injustice, and I know it goes back to the start of the movie where
Yeah.
it says injustice, and it genuinely is an injustice, and I think that needs to be corrected, and somehow we have to get in front of these people or this person, whichever it may be, at the Rock Hall and ask them that question.
Outside of film festivals, are people able to find this documentary? Where can people watch it?
At the moment, no, because obviously with festivals, we can show it for free.
Sure.
There are a couple of copyright issues that we have to resolve.
Okay.
So therefore,
With the music,
yeah,
certain
with the music,
we use.
it's nothing serious. But nevertheless, whilst it's being shown at festivals for free, there's no issue, and we hope that when one of the TV stations that we talked about before,
Yeah.
like PBS or Channel 5 in the UK,
Yeah.
take it on, that discussion will come up, and I'm sure those issues will be resolved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's no major issues. So at the moment, it's purely in festivals. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And we want
But I
to.
think people get they get the point.
Yeah.
right? That's the main thing.
We want to keep it that way at the moment, and
We
you know,
just want to distribute it. We want somebody to come along, say, right, we'll take it on. I've done the work. We've done the work. I've paid the money.
you know, maybe
Yeah.
Netflix.
Well, they've got to,
The film's all there.
I'm not
Yes,
asking
it's
them for
finished.
money. I'm
It's
not
finished,
asking
Jordan.
them.
It's-
I'm not saying, look, I want to
Yeah.
sell my movie for this.
Right.
I want somebody to come and say, look, we'll show your movie. We're going to show it right across America. We've shown it in England, and it was great. It just like the same as this, and
Yeah.
everybody loved it. It belongs here in America.
Is it safe to say that you are wanting justice for a person that you look up to as a hero? I mean, I feel like this is a person that you idolize.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
That's ultimately what you want at
I
the end
think
of the
it
day.
grows. It's been a passion for John for a long time, but it's even grown on me working with him, making this movie with him, and learning more and more about this guy. It is an injustice.
That's absolutely one thing that I wanted to ask you guys about is your guys' friendship. I think I kind of wanted to end the episode on that. Frankly, watching the documentary, I was pretty touched by your guys' friendship. Not trying to get you guys to cry on or anything like that.
No, I could kill him sometimes. But no,
you guys.
it is a true friendship. And
But that's what I kind of wanted to ask about is because look. Do I call you Little John? Is that what I'm supposed
fine.
to do?
Oh,
That's
please
fine.
do.
I'm not going to call you Elvis Costello. That joke's going to get worn to the
exactly.
ground.
Yeah, we'll forget that one.
Yeah.
But I really think it's pretty big of you as a friend to see this. I'm assuming lifelong friend or long time anyway.
Long time friend.
But not every day a friend would stick with you for this long and back you the way that you've done for him.
Well,
and I'm sure it hasn't always been easy, but I admire that as far as a loyalty and a friendship.
I believe in it. I believe in the movie for him. He clearly is a good friend, and like I said, we have our moments. It's like a marriage to some extent, where things, some days it doesn't work right. You know what I mean? I'm talking about the movie side of it here, because away from the movie, we're friends. You know what I mean? But things happen sometimes, but you can only show honesty, and if you show honesty, we get through it. You know what I mean? From both sides. You know, and that's the way it is. And it's a passion for him, and it's become a passion for me.
I could see that.
I think the thing is, he's the guy he keeps it going. He keeps it going. He's the guy who gives me a boot when I get down and I think I don't want to do it anymore. I've had enough. Because of the hassle. It's not worth the hassle sometimes at home. People would just give up. And I don't give up at anything. But sometimes I just say, oh, John, I've tried. I'm tired now. I want to, it's gone on so many years.
Well, it's hard to self-sustain your own passion. I mean, like, even the most passionate of people, and I get this because I've been there.
Yeah.
You have to work so tirelessly to get yourself there. And it's so... I mean, you can sustain for a good long time, but eventually you're going to need help.
And the trouble is, we've been so close. Oh, so-and-so. I mean, Sky TV loved it.
Right.
Channel 5. Oh, but not Channel 5.
Channel 4, was it? BBC?
BBC Arts.
Yes.
Right.
Loved it. We just made one about Buddy Holly.
Okay.
And I think I don't want people to say we loved it. I just want somebody to say, yeah. I mean, people who were in there today loved the film. And that was just the people who were in there.
Right.
I didn't speak to anybody on there who didn't like the film.
Right.
So there's not many films or documentaries you can watch on TV and have a room full of people and everybody like it.
It's very true.
I think the movie is interesting, heartwarming, heartbreaking, factual, and educational.
It's true.
And true.
It's
And
a
that's the biggest
documentary.
thing.
It's true.
When you saw John stood outside Elvis Presley's home with a placard, trying to get the bopper. Now that to me is not tragic, but that's the passion. He stood there on his own outside Graceland's with a poster asking for people. Now that is a poignant moment where he stood there for a few hours. You know what I mean, and that takes some guts as well.
That's what I was going to say, because you know damn well there were probably people driving by
thinking he's a nutcase.
Yeah, they're thinking all kinds of things. They just see some guy twirling around a sign. You guys make a commentary on that.
By the time I was finished, I thought I was a nutcase. Never mind them. I thought I was crazy.
You're absolutely right, because we might think that driving past, what was he? Just stood there like that.
Sure.
And
it's only human nature.
Yeah, it's human nature, and I think. That to me epitomises, if I'm honest, that epitomises the movie to me and his passion. Him stood outside Graceland's with that banner is something that sticks in my mind as probably one of the most poignant things I've seen, and I have to say that, and it is a bit emotional.
No,
saying that.
of course it is. And you know what I think I'll try to wind this down on is I think ultimately with watching your guys' documentary, with learning all I did about the Bopper and obviously his effect that he had on you,
Yes.
to me, an artist can only dream to have a fan like yourself.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, seriously. I mean, like
You're
you're not
right,
like you're not like
You're
some
right.
like psychopath that's
Yeah.
like trying to do something crazy or
No.
weird or anything like that. You're someone that wants a person that gave art and
They gave his life.
moved the industry forward.
Yeah, he gave his
you
life,
are
like you
wanting
said.
him
Yeah.
to get his due respect.
Yes.
And you're doing that because you
Absolutely.
care at the end of the day about his music.
Yeah.
And about what he's done for people and yourself, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, couldn't any artist, like, what else
I know.
does an
What
artist
more do you
want?
want? You're right, Jordan.
Right.
What
Thank
more
you.
could anyone
Thanks,
want?
Jordan. Appreciate that.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I think, like, that's the perfect way to end this, is
Yes.
just,
Thank you.
if your art is impacting people enough, I mean, God bless. You could only wish to have somebody as dedicated as yourself that's
Thank
trying
you.
to do what you're doing.
That's very
and
true.
that's, I think, what the family sees, too.
They do.
Yes.
Yes.
They wouldn't have anything to do with you
Oh.
if they thought you were a nut.
Hey, we
No.
are lifelong friends. Don't get me wrong. We are lifelong friends.
I also think it's pretty damn cool that you sang at the Clear Lake, the surf ballroom there.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, just from like a pure
I know,
fun level, I mean,
absolutely.
that's fun.
Oh
Yeah,
no, you're
that's
right.
good.
That's absolutely correct. You
Love
know,
it.
it's been brilliant.
It's brought us so many friends.
Yeah.
And as I say, to be fair, yes, the icing on the cake or the cherry on the top would be to get him inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Let me ask this. Say he's inducted,
Yes.
right? Let's say it happens tomorrow.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yes.
fun. What then? I mean, like, who knows the answer to that question?
Well,
But-
we'll sit down with a big smile on our faces. I'll
you guys
tell you.
would need to go out and celebrate.
Yeah, we'd
I
sit
would
down
have
with
a
a gin and
lo-
tonic.
the best gin and tonic.
And we'd just sit
I would
looking at
enjoy
one another.
That gin and tonic.
I think
That seems to be your drink of choice, because I remember you mentioned that in the doc too.
Yeah.
You're like, I
You
gotta
did,
stop
yeah.
and get
I
a
like
gin
it.
and
You did,
tonic.
yes,
first.
you did.
Yeah.
I do
No,
like a gin and tonic.
Yeah.
Well, personally, if that day happened,
Yeah.
we would perhaps just look at one another and shake hands and say we did it.
It was worth it.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no. If
And we wouldn't-
that day happened, I would
Yeah.
just like to say, and I love my wife, and I love my daughter, and I'd just
course.
like to say,
I told you so.
yeah, I told you so.
Like, you couldn't have seen it then, but believe me,
Yeah.
we got there.
Yeah, and I think like of now, like when John applied for this, and I saw John's applied. Yeah, and then
You
we're in.
can't talk to them, you
We're
see.
in,
That's
you
what I
know.
mean. He'll mention the fact that I've done, and I've kept
Right.
it going. And at times I've felt a bit guilty because he gets the grief from me doing the work. You know what I mean? He can't
Right.
say anything to them. But, so anything I do that's trying to help the movie for us, well, for everyone, John can't tell them, and that's what eats away at him sometimes. You know what I mean? He just wants that. Oh, have they? That's brilliant. But
Yeah.
But
I get that.
as I say, it's a team event. It's a team. Amy Eckard, she's an American girl. She's younger. She's only in the early 40s. Amy,
She was the dance instructor in there,
Yes,
right?
that's
Yep,
correct.
yep.
Yes,
She's helped
Amy.
us.
Yes.
Jeff at the surf, and I mean, we have a movie there, and we've got Sir Tim Rice in there. Sir Tim Rice wrote Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he is,
Famous lyricist. I mean, a
he-
mega.
Yeah, mega. I mean, he is a massive. I mean, he's big friends with Paul McCartney. But by the way, if I was Paul McCartney, JP would be inducted already.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
not. You need to get somebody on the induction committee, somebody who's famous enough to put his name up there.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. I spoke to the ex-CEO and I said, look, I've got a petition here with so many thousand signatures. He said, John,
You got more tonight, I know that.
well, he said, if you sent something here with 500,000 signatures, it means nothing. We're not
Nothing.
invested in signatures,
Yeah.
nothing. That means nothing. You've got to get to the person who has a say. That's what it's all about. I didn't know this. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Sure.
That's what it is, and I didn't know this. I really.
Well, I mean, how could you?
In hindsight, I was rather naive, and possibly if Jay hadn't died, which is a you know, this was the catalyst.
Yeah.
If Jay hadn't died and I'd gone so far, and I'm talking to Jay and then this and that, and you think, well, and I think it was just the fact I promised, and I don't break a promise.
Yeah.
And I promised him, and I promised his family, and I promised myself. And,
Sure.
and the more I get to know, and I know the Big Bopper in my mind, I know him, I know
Yeah.
what he was like. He was a family man. And the best thing in that movie for me, it was when Randy Steele is there and he said, if he came back, he'd shake your hand, John. And that to me, that's it.
Last question, I swear. I have a bad habit of doing that. I say last question and then I keep going. But
No
this
problem.
will be the last, because I definitely thought this after
Don't
watching
ask
the
me
movie.
how much money it's cost. Please.
No,
Right,
no,
that's okay.
we will leave that to the imagination.
Yes.
But I am curious. Let's say Big Bopper hadn't died in the plane crash.
Yes.
He had gone on.
Yes.
What do you think his legacy would have been? I
I'll
mean,
tell
it's
you
fun
exactly.
to speculate, but
I'll
I mean,
tell
like,
you
where do you think he would have gone?
I will tell you exactly what he would have done.
Oh.
He was saving money up to get a string of radio stations.
Yeah, you said he was pretty business-minded as well.
He's very business minded. That's what he wanted to do. And if you read about him, I think it possibly. His son Jay said to me, he said, John, he says, you know, you have Sky TV and you have this. He says, well, you may have been watching Bopper Vision today. That's how innovative this man was.
Right.
He was a genius.
Very ahead of his time.
He
I
was a
think so,
genius.
Jordan. I don't think his musical career probably would have faded in the sense of, when I say faded, I don't mean faded because people didn't like him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He would have seen other opportunities.
He would have
and,
evolved.
and evolved into something else
Yeah.
and something bigger. And,
Yeah.
and that's no disrespect to, what he was doing.
No, but I mean, I think any true great artist changes naturally
Absolutely,
with
yes.
time, and they evolve
Yeah.
and
Well,
change
look
their
at
art.
Bowie. Look at Bowie. There's how many faces did Bowie have?
Plenty.
You know, absolutely. And I mean, he
Yeah.
was a genius in the musical
course.
industry.
Yeah.
But he was somebody who could change direction. You know, we're not talking about, yes, he's still in the music industry, but as I say, he started off as a radio guy, and he was in the army as a radio guy, and then he came back and his career was waning, so he thought of something, I'll break a world record spinning discs. You know, he
That
collapsed
was
at the
pretty
end of
wild
it.
when you guys
Yeah.
brought that up.
Yeah, and I mean,
Literally, he had to go to the hospital.
Yeah,
Well, collapsed in exhaustion.
obviously,
Good
'cause it
Lord.
just
and whilst he was in hospital, he envisaged his own death in a plane crash.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
Oh yeah. So I mean, we're talking about things now that just, I think, wow. But he was just thinking all of the time.
Yeah.
And at that particular time, he was even doing things that people didn't think of then. Gordon Baxter was a great friend of his on the radio station. Now in America, Gordon Baxter went on to be a great author and a pretty famous author, writing so many books, and he did a lot with aviation. And he was the guy who was in the actual funeral march, and he was the one who spoke over it, saying, "My dear friend," and that. And he couldn't go to the funeral; he was too upset. They were great friends.
Yeah.
But then they did that thing where they raced him with a wheelbarrow, and then he had a car and one had a boat, and and he did things then. He was promoting things where people didn't think about. He was one step ahead.
Yeah.
He had jackets with different names. He had 3 jackets. One was called Igor, one was called Zelda. He had a name. One was a leopard print. You look at people like now and they get dressed up with leopards. Where did all that come from? Where does, but you get these guys like Prince and that wearing leopards. Where did it come from?
Right.
He said, quote me, "You're not going to have to sound good, you're going to have to look good." And then he's on that video and he says, you're not going to have a little machine by your TV, you're going to be able to record. This is like 25 years or something before the first VCR.
Yeah.
The guy was a genius, an absolute genius.
It's wild to think where he would have gone had it not happened, but then weirdly enough at the same time, the untimely passing, the tragedy with the whole thing, there's a lot of things that happen with it that arguably would not have happened without it happening.
Every crowd.
Yes, of course.
I spoke to
Well, we
Jeff.
wouldn't be sat here, would we?
No.
If he hadn't
Of course
have died,
not. You guys wouldn't be doing
There'd
this.
be no movie. That we wouldn't be sat doing
The
this.
surf ballroom probably wouldn't exist. It would have been razed to the ground.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah. No.
If that hadn't happened, thousands of people come here every year. Why? The Winter Dance Party. Why? Because those
Yeah, the
three
Winter
guys.
Dance Party sounds actually really interesting. I
You
never.
should come.
No, you've got to come.
It's in February, right?
February.
That's what you guys said.
Yeah,
End of
February-
January.
end of
John,
January,
you
February.
should come and interview some of the people
You must
there.
come.
Seriously.
You will
I'm
love
sure
it.
it'd be fun.
What a show that
And
you
you know
would
what
have
it
with
is?
that.
It's like
I
a
think-
different time, quite literally. It
Yeah.
sounds like.
You think now you've got a bit of a. Hello, darling. Are you awake? Give us a kiss. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Sorry, love.
You're
I
fine.
have to give my fellow compadre English people.
Bye, darling. Bye. I'll look up here.
See you tomorrow.
It's all
I'm gonna
love.
come about.
It's just all love. It's good.
See you tomorrow.
Great. But no, see you tomorrow, sweetheart. But no, it's the Winter Dance Party. When you think this is good, you come back there, everybody's 50s. And
Yeah.
I'm talking, you go back in time. We get here, we come to Clear Lake, we're talking 40 below sometimes. You
Oh
know.
yeah. no.
Oh, it is cool.
It's unkind.
But you get in there, and
Yeah.
you are just transported back in time.
Yeah.
And
It's wild.
the fun we have. And if nothing else happens, out this journey, the people we have met, the friends, Mark, you know, the friends we have made, lifelong friends,
Yeah.
money can't buy that. Money
No.
cannot buy that.
No, I think the value that I think you guys bring to the community here, obviously that you are doing this from a place that's purely in your heart
Yeah.
and your soul
Yeah,
and your
there's no,
bones.
there's
Yes.
no.
Yeah.
I feel that.
There's no
Great.
ulterior motive,
Thank
John.
you.
No.
It's just, the ultimate goal, obviously, is to get the Bopper inducted. That's how it all started. But I think along the way, we want the movie to be out there so people know what this guy did.
Yeah.
And then the rest will be history. If you know what I mean. If
Yeah.
he's in there, great. But at least this movie will be shown, and people will be able to say, "Do you
Yep.
remember the movie, that program about the Bopper?
Yeah.
And this is what he did, the Big Bopper, and I didn't." That to me is still worth.
Yeah.
Well, it's worth. It's priceless.
I'll say this, everybody that's listening. So, if you can't find their movie Bopper and Me, look up Big Bopper. Find out more about him. Find out more about Clear Lake. Find out more about the tragedy of this plane crash that happened. Learn more about this stuff because the history here, it does matter. Obviously, the two gentlemen that are sitting across from me, it matters greatly to them, but it's for a good reason if you haven't picked that up already just from listening to the conversation. So, you guys, I really appreciate you being here. It was fascinating listening to you guys. I could easily record with you again.
Thank
It's
you,
very
Jordan.
easy to do.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
But
It's been great.
Once we get him in,
yes.
I'll do.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, if we get him in, we'll do like a revisit or something
That'd be
like that,
brilliant.
and
That'd be
like just
promise.
talk all about the.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yes.
We've loads to tell you.
Just
But thank you very
just
much.
talk about all the copious amounts of gin.
In my copious message. Yeah. After all the years you put in there, I think that might be worth it.
Yeah.
Great, yeah.
No, honestly though, guys, it's been great. Trying to think, I don't really have anything else other than that. This is a treat, and I appreciate all the work you guys are doing.
Thank you very much. It's
We
been
appreciate what you're
brilliant,
doing
and
as
thank
well.
you for
Thank you.
giving us the time to talk with you.
In my own way, it's a podcast. Obviously, people listen and whatnot, but I think these things matter. It makes a difference.
Great.
Even if you get 5 people that look into something, that's still numbers.
Absolutely,
That helps.
absolutely.
So,
Thank you,
guys, look into this.
we
Definitely
will.
do it.
Oh, we will. We'll talk with you. You know that.
And you must get in touch with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
and
Yes.
just
Get those
push to get
guys.
JP Richardson inducted. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
was going to say,
Thank
Big
you.
Bopper, JP Richardson.
Yeah.
Look that up.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.